There we go. Great. So thank you, Debbie, for hanging out with me. We are going to have a great time. So let's get started. For people who don't know you, tell us all about you.
Oh, thanks for having me on. Debby Kruszewski. It's much easier to just say Cruz because everyone fumbles on my last name. So we'll get that out of the way. I decided to leave my corporate job. I was a COO and I heard God's voice. I had been praying very loudly to God of being terrified of where my life was headed and the job that I was in. And I felt like I was going to die. And I just asked God for guidance and to help me and tell me what I should do. And I just very loudly heard him say, leave and just start writing, and I'll take care of the rest. So I wrote 3 books in 9 months,
Woo!
continuing. continuing.
Fire! Wow.
See, that's so funny because everybody gets all like, wow. And I'm like, oh, I feel like I should be scolded. Like I could have done it faster because I just didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So the first 6 months were really trial and error and figuring it
Hmm.
out. And then I just couldn't stop after a while. So I feel like I'm like, oh, I could have done better. Everyone's like, that's a great accomplishment. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's a lot for a year. And there are
Yeah.
people who do write faster, but they're very, very few. Very
Yeah,
few.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's, learning the process. I
Hmm.
mean, I had zero idea of the process or really what I was heading into. So it was, it was, it was a journey in that process. But once you understand it, you're like, okay, this is what I have to do at the beginning. So the actual just sitting down and writing is not that difficult. Well, for me,
Yes.
not other people think differently, but
Yeah, but I follow you there because I think a lot of people allow distractions and they don't block out their time and they don't do the pre-work so that they can work. So I honor you for that because that's really good. So let me ask you just a technical question. Are you using Word to write on, or is there a specific program that you use?
that's a great question. So I've tried a whole bunch of different methods. I originally just didn't know anything else other than Word.
Hmm.
And then I was introduced to, it would be a great idea if you use Google Docs and then you could
Ooh,
talk into it. You could do it on Microsoft Word too.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. And then I realized I should never speak again because everything, it was so bad. And it just comes up. Sometimes it comes out like, and it makes no
Mm.
sense. So that just was like, I'm better at thinking and putting it on paper
Yeah.
before I actually, you don't, you see so much of
Oh yes.
the recoding words and the broken English, and you're like, I just need to go back from kindergarten on. So I'll do
Yeah.
something else for a while. Working remote. I think Adam Sandler made a movie about that, but
Yeah, but that's such a valid point because like what works for some people doesn't for others, and I think that you hit the nail on the head there, saying, "Hey, I'm open to trying it, but if it doesn't work for me, I'm not."
that doesn't work.
So then let me ask you this though. So the speaking into the docs doesn't work. So you are still with Google Docs only typing, or are you with Word?
I've been neither actually. There's several websites in between too where
Okay.
they really help you do a lot of the mapping out
Mm-hmm.
process. And
Mm-hmm.
one of them that I'm using is called Writer's Duet.
Cool.
And I found another one, and I don't know what I think it's called Final Draft,
Yeah.
where you can take it in any direction. So you
Mm-hmm.
could write a novel, a blog, a screenplay, and it helps you really organize your thoughts, organize an outline. And that I'm finding interesting. It's still for me weird because I work on stickies and
Yes.
sheets
Mm-hmm.
all written out.
Yes.
So I'm used to that method. I mean, this whole wall is just wall of stickies. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just mentally getting myself from the sticky method onto screen, which will be so much easier.
Good
And
luck with that. It
thank you.
doesn't for
Yeah.
me. It doesn't work. Like I'm still with
Yeah.
the stickies.
I am sort of leaning into the stickies a little bit more, but it really helped me get organized
Hmm.
because I was writing. I had an outline and then I would just write, which happens. But I like digging in deeper and then digging in deeper and digging in deeper. And then really all you have to do is drop in a lot of the dialogue.
Yeah.
So far, I'm giving it a shot. We'll see how far I get. I did write a whole screenplay actually on writer's duet, and I'm like, gosh, this is horrible. So I'm walking away and starting over. But it's still the same story. It's just really, how are you tying the pieces? When I'm just writing
Yeah.
in Word, I
Mm-hmm.
could just go into it. So
Yeah.
that's different. That's to me right now is the holdup. It's like, it's not the actual putting it on paper. It's which method I should use. So
Yeah. And that
technology is
is,
not always your friend. I don't know.
yeah, yeah, it's true. But like writing a screenplay is totally different than writing a book. I mean, like I follow you, and being able to convey those thoughts in a way that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
now the programs that you're using, they are online, like and it's saved to the cloud.
Yeah, it saves, straight to their cloud. You can
Cool.
continue to download if you'd like,
Yes.
which
Which is
is
great.
very
Yeah.
helpful, especially if
Yeah.
you're going to switch around.
Yeah.
But so far, it's interesting to give it a try and put your thoughts in different places, which I like that. But just getting used to it is
Yeah,
is
great. Well, thank you for letting me run off on a rabbit trail on technical stuff, because I know some people are going to be watching this who are just starting their first book. What would you tell somebody just starting their first book? What would you say to them?
well. Congratulations for making that first step, because that's one of the hardest
Yes.
steps.
Mm-hmm.
I would say be honest with yourself in the process. Really write down what you want the process to be. Because some people think they're just going to sit down, they're going to write the next greatest novel or comedy or whatever avenue they feel connected to. And, really understand your characters, understand
Mm-hmm.
what you want your audience to be. I've seen, and I've done a little bit of this myself, where it's like, I want to reenact a situation the way I wanted it to play out.
Mm-hmm.
And, I stopped myself from putting hatred towards somebody where I'm like, I know in real life, this is what the character really looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to change the story, and I was like, this is bad blood on it. It makes me sick. But I know people that have gone through with it. And I'm like, you may think that no one's going to get it, but you're going to stab a lot of people in your very close circle, and it's out there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you see it, your children will see it, your grandchildren will
Yes, they
see it,
will.
and you can't really walk away from that. So you really need to make sure you have those hard conversations beforehand of like, this character totally resembles you, and I just want you to be aware. And I
Yeah.
think you should give them the right to read it and see it first. I did that with a few characters because we had spoke ahead of time of like, it would be really cool if I talked about this situation or I put this
Mm-hmm.
situation there, but you might be sensitive to it,
Yeah, yeah. My wife's friend also writes books, and my wife writes books. I know a lot of authors, and that is something that bothers them. Is like, how can I tell my truth but not offend people? How can I, and there's so many authors that struggle with that, and I think that's why a lot of people use pen names, just to be free from that. And because I think you, if you're not honest, your product won't sell, because people can sense when you're being censored, and they can tell that you're holding back stuff. So I agree with you. If you're going to do it, you need to get let's put it all on the table and get it all out there. Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. Cool. So what else would you tell somebody who's just starting out with their first book? Besides, hey, if you're making a character resemble somebody, tell them, hey, I'm going to make you a villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, but that's okay. Some people are totally cool with it, and some aren't. Some of them like it. It's like, oh, can you make me a bad person?
Oh yeah. I have somebody that he knows that I represented a character in my book, and he's like, when am I going to be on
There
Oprah?
you go.
I don't even know that Oprah still has a show.
Yeah.
Why would you? It's like, no, you're just never mind. Like, never mind. Go read it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
But what I would say to authors is definitely write a very strong outline. And
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the lessons I learned right away from one of my editors was, this is going nowhere, but the protagonist has such a strong voice, and she has to be heard. But if you don't have rhyme or reason of where this is going, you're going to fail. And you're going to find yourself in traps, and you're going to stop, and you're going to get frustrated, and you're going to walk away.
Yes.
And
Wow.
writing a strong outline, and you will gear off it for sure. But if you don't have that start, middle, and things you want to occur, how you want to tie it together, if you don't have those key things, you're going to just go
Yeah.
off road so many times and get upset with yourself.
Oh yeah.
That's a huge piece.
Yeah, because you can lose 20, 30 minutes or a day or two on a tangent that doesn't stick with that outline. So that, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to really have that beginning, middle, and end and stick to it. Yeah, it's cool. So now you've written, you got the first 3 books out, right?
Yes.
And people can get them where?
On Amazon.
Right.
You can also go off my website to find them directly, which is debbykrusz.com. And yeah, those are the best 2 avenues. I know that Barnes and Noble also has it, but I haven't checked on them in a while. So Amazon is usually the best, because then the more reviews you get with them, the higher your ranking you get up in their algorithm. So
yeah, cool. So what's going on with you now? Let's talk about your future.
Why, thank you. Oh, right. Right now, I'm actually just working on my own journey of getting myself closer to God. And that was my message, was to leave and to write. And I wrote, and I got frustrated with myself of like, all right, I did this. Like, I should be given the keys to the palace by now. I had all this obnoxious energy about what I should be doing. And I did start a whole bunch of ventures, and nothing worked. So every door closed in front of me, and I couldn't understand it. And then I, would be deep in prayer, and God would just come to me and say, I told you to write. I didn't tell you to do all these other things.
Wow.
I didn't tell you to get frustrated. I told you to write. So it's like, all right, well, let's take it back and let's go back to writing. So every time I start writing again, doors start to open. And so I was in the middle of writing. I'm still writing 3 novels, really concentrated on 2 of them, but now one of them has turned from a novel into a screenplay, and it's opened doors for me. So another avenue that I'm working on is getting deeper into the entertainment and media and marketing side of it, because if you go the traditional routes, publishing routes, Hollywood routes, your doors are continually closed for you, because who are you? You're really nobody. You don't have social stats. You're not a Kardashian. You don't have what they want. And if you don't have that, what kind of bank book do you have? What kind of check can you write me? And it's either one of those avenues. And majority of the people out there see it and believe it and are like, well, forget it. Why should I bother to write a book? Why should I bother to write a screenplay? And that just upsets me. And I've gone down all the horrible rabbit holes of, I'm going to save you. I'm going to do all the marketing for you. And you pour all this money into it. And where has it gotten me? I mean, it's gotten me somewhere, but at the same time, they're promising you this.
Oh, yes. Yes. Believe me.
And I've learned so much, and everybody only gives you a little piece of the puzzle. But there's millions of people that are giving you a piece of the puzzle that now it's like, well, now I know what the whole puzzle looks like, and I have all the pieces. And I'm not going to let my friends and family and people that I know have a lot of value fall into these traps. So I'm working on developing a publishing company for people that write books and want to get it out there and feel like there's no avenue for them, because there is. And there is little niches, and there is little ways to get in there and not have to have not have money, because most people that are readers don't. Most people that are artists don't. And to know that there is a way that you can become something, and people do want to read your book, and it's just getting it out there. And I've learned how to do that. So I want to do that. And then in the meantime of doing all of this, I, found some wonderful people that want to do the same thing on the media side, and working on, some media productions and building a business. So I hope to someday in the future be able to come back, and we can all come as a team and talk about it. And, I'm grateful for avenues like Angel Studios and The Chosen that really made it possible, are like, we don't care, Hollywood. Like, we're going to do this, and we're going to make it happen. And, you have to be so excited for somebody paving that path. So
Yeah.
when God asked me to write, I was like, well, why did I work in this industry for almost 30 years?
Yeah.
It's like, well, now I have all this business background and understand all this business side, and writing got me into this direction. And now I'm sitting here going, well, listening to you, God, really is working out.
Yeah, that's it right there. And let's dig into this a little bit, because I want so many people who are authors or potential authors. And let's talk about some of these traps, because like I said, my wife has done this. And so the first people that came to us, they charged us, I don't know, $1,500 or something to self-publish. And it was all stuff we could have done for free that they did for us. And so like you're saying, there's so many traps out there. What is something that you would recommend somebody not do?
Don't hire a marketing company that doesn't know anything about books.
Thank you. Yes.
Don't pour money into social media ads.
Yep.
Don't waste
Come
your
on.
time
Woo!
dancing
I'm right there with
on
you.
TikTok.
Yes. Yes.
Pay attention to what book lovers want.
Thank you.
Know your genre. That is the number one
Yes.
thing. Because in a genre is a subgenre,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a fan club. That's why that genre exists.
That's right.
Find that fan club
That's right.
and focus on them.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on where sales are the strongest. And right now it's Amazon, right?
Yeah.
But there's ways you could play with Kindle, and you can give your readers 99-cent books that'll read. Get on Goodreads, get a strong blog that supports your book. Be authentic. Let people know who you are. I mean,
Yeah.
I think social media is extremely important. I don't think you have to be on it 24 days, 24 hours a day.
I follow you there. Yeah.
Just be authentic and, just show who you are, and people like you. And if they like your books, they want to know more about what you're doing and working on. And they're interested. I mean, my mom will never go to the supermarket with me. She's like, no, you could drop me off and somewhere, another supermarket. And I'm like, why? She's like, because you're always stuck in aisle 5 with many people that are like, oh my God, tell me when your next book is coming out. Can you ask me? And that's where your audience is. It's in aisle 5 at Stop and Shop. So, you have to know where to find them and be available for them and really talk and listen to what they want to hear next. I know romance has a huge following where they will read a book a day.
Oh, yes, they will. Yes.
And if they like you, they want you to produce.
Yes.
So those are some key avenues to just start and get there and build your own marketing plan.
Thank you.
I don't need 3 million followers. I need 300 people that are dedicated fans that will all buy a book the second it goes on sale. Because those 300 fans will be build 300 because they all have a friend.
That's right.
And you don't have to spend millions of dollars to do that. It will cost you what it costs to be on the internet, So
yes. So I want to draw out 2 points that you made that I think are very vital. Number one is you've got to know who you're there for. You got to know your customer. You got to know the person you want to help and how you want to help them. So you have to be real clear on you and real clear on them. And the other thing that I think you said something that really jumped out to me, because I fell in this trap, and so many other people have, where you feel like you have to be on social media 24/7. It's not real, because if you're not connected with your people, you're just wasting your time.
Completely. And then if it's not who you are and it's not authentic to you, that comes through.
Yes, it does.
And then you go dark and they'll forget about you in a second.
Yeah, because you weren't real.
Else.
Thank you. And it's like, and something else is this. So many people are afraid of being themselves, but if somebody's going to reject you, let them reject you for you being you, don't let them reject you for you pretending to be somebody else. Exactly. That's crazy.
Yeah. Like sometimes you leave the house without lipstick on. That's just what happens.
Yes.
You don't need people to call you out and make you feel bad. Like, no, show them what you be real. Like,
yes. Awesome. I love that. And it's so true. It's so true to be transparent. What would you say were because one of the things that we talked about before we jumped on here was you said you like to encourage people. So for the person that's watching this right now, and I promise you it's real, somebody's watching this and they're stuck, they're depressed. There's probably people who will watch this because it will be on LinkedIn who are actually contemplating suicide. That is real. What would you like to tell that person who's totally depressed, and they don't know what to do, they don't know where to turn, they don't, what would you say to them?
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely dabbled in that, been in that space before, not really thinking that I was that deep, but I think I have been. And, you have to really dig in. Those are the moments when you have to dig inside of you and really watch your cycles. And there's an up and there's a down. And you've been in so many ups and downs. And right now you're in the down and you're in this cloud of dust and it feels impossible. But when you're at that place, that's where your strength comes from. And, the more you can get in that strength and be like, I'm going to get through this. And every moment is a new moment. So you're in this moment and now it's gone. And now it's a new moment and now that's gone. And this is a new time because we've never had this moment before and now it's gone. And there's many mantras that you could say, and you can play these little games where it's like, wow, the 10 minutes just went by and it's like, you know what? And you survived it. And it really is taking that second and minute. And I know when you're sitting in that space, you're like, I can't think about that. But if you're thinking about it now, and you know that moment is really on its way, start preparing it now. And just focus on, well, this is pretty bad. So I'm done. I'm not going further. I'm going up. Just focus on telling that cloud of dust to go away. It doesn't exist. It's just dust. It does not exist. You just have it in your head. And many exercises that I've worked on and done, and I've had clients that I've worked with to get them through these avenues is identify what the fear looks like. Like you're already in the darkness. You're already like basically have your eyes closed and are living inside of you. So just ask your fear to show up. Be like, show up and show me who you are and what you're made of. And for me, it was like this tiny little cute little animal that was just clawed into me. And being able to just talk to it. And I was like, you're adorable. Why are you so nasty?
Wow.
And turn it around. I mean, for me, I
go.
was able to be like, I was able to give it love. And I was able to hand it over to Jesus and be like, thank you. Like, but it can you take this off my hands?
Yes.
And then I kept going back to check up on it. And then, you don't want Jesus giving you side eye because that's just, not good. But it's like, you gave it to me, walk away. And you have to remind yourself, give it to God and walk away.
Yes.
Because it's just dust.
Yes.
And it's easier said than done. But, I've been through that. And just believe, like, God gave you a dream on your heart for a reason, and it belongs to you. It wasn't there to make you upset. It wasn't there to get you to that avenue. It is there for you to shine. So just be like, I'm doing it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to go find it, and it's mine. So once you make that choice, that it shows up for you. You just never know how quickly it'll happen as soon as you change how you think.
Yeah. That is so true, and so valuable. I mean, that's total home run. What you said there. I agree with that 100%. Because life has seasons, and sometimes you're just in a winter and everything is dead. It's like it's all dead, and that's just part of it. That's just part of life. And if you just hold on, don't give up, and wait it out, it'll be all right. The sun will come out tomorrow. So let's talk about something you had said earlier about how you lived this corporate life, and then you were like, this isn't working for me. So how did that come about? How did you go from being in corporate America to author?
Well, I just worked my way up the ladder. I was told that was where the dream was. Like, oh, keep going. It's the money. It's the title. You're going to love it. And I'm like, I don't love the money. It doesn't give me.
Thank you.
it just does not give me this wonderful feeling.
Oh,
It's a
yes.
burden. It's more responsibility. It's more people that all of a sudden need and want something from you that you had no use for you
Yes.
before. And the people that are in your life, they change too.
Yeah.
And I didn't like any of it, and I didn't like how I thought I could put money on a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me bothered me. And I'm like, I don't need all of this.
Thank you.
I need shirt, pants, I need a meal, I need a roof over my head and a car to get me somewhere. And it doesn't need to be more difficult than that.
Thank you.
And yeah, so I was sitting in this space and I'm like, okay, I have the great title. That's wonderful. I have the money. That's wonderful. Where's this happiness again? Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where that is. And you think of great stories memories that you have, and what were the great memories. And my dad always says the best memories were sitting in your grandmother's apartment, 2-bedroom apartment with her 4 kids and all their grandkids, and we're all sitting on each other's lap on like snack tables.
Yeah.
And those were the greatest holidays in the
Oh, yeah.
world. And then I remember being in my friend's apartment, and she had a 1-bedroom apartment, and we're all sitting on top of each other having Taco Tuesday. And I'm like, this is the greatest ever. Like, why,
Mm-hmm.
you don't need
Thank you.
bigger space. You don't need those things. And once you can find happiness in those moments, then there is no monetary value on it.
Yeah.
It's not a 5 Michelin star restaurant. I never heard one person say the best moment in my life was eating asparagus at a 5-star Michelin restaurant.
Yeah.
That changed my life.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
well, okay.
Right.
I'm waiting for that moment, but it wasn't the money.
Yes. I understand that, and I agree with you. I'm 100 million %, because everybody who's had it and lost it and had it and lost it, which I have, and I'm sure you have,
Yeah.
like, we've eaten at the best restaurants, we've stayed at the best hotels, we've done all of that. It's all empty. You can have the biggest home you want. It's empty. You can have the fanciest car. It's empty. It's all empty. And you can drink all the booze you want. It's empty. It's all empty. And it's having a relationship with God. It's having a relationship with people that you love, and being thankful for what you have. Because I agree with you. I would rather be there with my friends, in that shoebox apartment, than in some stupid castle somewhere. It just doesn't matter.
It doesn't at all. And those are what it is important. That is what is value and abundance and joy.
Yeah.
And that's when you get those belly laughs where you're rolling on the floor and you can't
Yes.
stop. And,
Yeah.
everybody bringing a pot of food and being so excited of what you brought. And that is moments you can't recreate, and you can't buy that. You
Yeah.
really can't at all. So, you just have to keep that with you. And, God always works it out.
Mm-hmm.
You may feel like, I can't do this because I don't have money. I need money. And it's like, well, God, just ask God to work it out. Why are you telling God how it has to happen?
Yes, I've been there.
like,
oh yeah. He
He
don't like that. He doesn't like when we tell him how he's going to do things.
Yeah. Every time someone's like, let's go out. And like, my friends just saw that El Camino movie that came out the other day. It was like a 1 day only. And unfortunately I wasn't able to make it. And they're like, we totally want to go. I'm like, it's been on my bucket list for years. Like, let's just do it. Like, what do we have to lose? And, is that, I won't be staying in a 5-star hotel. I mean, it's that to me is the trip of a lifetime. Like, that's a memories you'll never forget. And that's something you tell your grandkids. And that is, again, like, there's no monetary value on what you'll get out of it. I mean, building that trip, like preparing for it, having a backpack. I mean, to me, it's the excitement of what you'll gain out of that is priceless for sure.
Yeah. I remember when my kids were really little, me and my wife were doing really, really well. And we would just go in and to the store and buy them anything and everything. And, those were the empty times.
Mm-hmm.
But the times when we had nothing, but we had each other and we were choosing to be thankful, those were the times that were everything. because I think it's easy to try to replace relationships and connection with money, and it's better to have the relationships and connections first and then add the money to it. And nobody talks about that, you know.
No.
And I'm right there with you. So let's get back on target here. So we're talking about writing books, and you're here, you're doing the corporate thing, you have the titles, you have the money, you have the success, and it's not what it's cracked up to be. So how did you get from that to where you're like, okay, I'm done?
Yeah, we were on that path at one point, weren't we? Yeah, I asked God for help, and he had spoke to me before, and I laughed in his face about a relationship that I was in, and I'm like, no, you're crazy. Like, who are you? And I promised God, I will never make that mistake again. Whatever it is, I will do it. And I distinctly heard him say, leave my job and start writing. And I was like, I'm doing it. And I just negotiated, like, this is what I promised in my contract. This is what I will fulfill. And, we worked out a plan of an exit strategy, and everybody, was mad at me and I'm crazy. And what do you think? And, it was like, oh, does it bother you? Not my well-being and happiness, staying alive, but, oh, I'm sorry, you're not going to eat at your fancy club or, have the handbag or anymore, or, it's like, well, that's too bad for you. But I like to listen to God and get closer to God, and that's going to keep me alive and on my mission. So the decision wasn't hard because I had already failed at making the right choice before by not listening to God, and I had regretted it. And he really laid out for me, like, walk away right now. And I'm like, let's go right in the fire, kid.
Yes. Yeah. I find that those times when I totally didn't listen to God and my little heart was like, that makes the second time I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll do exactly what you say, Lord. Yes. I hear you. Okay. So you're at that point, you've made this decision. I'm coming out of Egypt, out of business Egypt, and I'm going to follow God. How did you cope with the fear mechanism of how am I going to eat? How am I going to survive? How did you cope with that?
Well, I had a plan, and I did have money saved. And I mean, if I knew now, what was going to happen, it would have had a better plan, of course. But I had, again, like you said, been rich, been poor. I had been rich, I had been poor, I had been everything in between. So it was like, all right, there's things you have to give up. I also really was in the clouds of, wow, I've never really had a break with freedom. I never really had a break where it's like, I don't have to care what time I wake up today.
Yeah.
All I have to do is write, and I could, write any time of the day, and look at me, I can go sit on the beach with my laptop. I'm so cool. And I was caught in that for a while until, you watch the savings go down. You're like, oh, I should.
Yeah.
But I also had started a consulting business at the same time, or I had a consulting business and I was actually being active in it. And that was where I found those avenues of God was like, I told you to write. Because I would get clients, and it was like, that was going to fix me for 3 months to have this one client. And I'm like, okay, well, I could just do this job, bang it out in 2 weeks. And then, like, look at me, I got 3 months worth of extra cash. And all of a sudden that didn't work out. And then it was like the next one, and it didn't work out. And then there's this next one. And it was all those times I walked away from writing.
Wow.
So it was like, I really was being redirected. Like, I told you to write. I told you to write. I told you to write. And that was all within that 9 months of those first 3 books.
Yeah.
And then I wrote the 3 books, and I just didn't know what else to do. So then I went back. And then it was like, I was like, I'm going to work on this avenue, and this is going to work. And same thing, all just closed doors. And I'm like, you're right, God, I need to get back to writing. So it was creating a blog and, working on a few other novels and getting back on track with that. Yeah. So trying to balance doing a bit of both, because I feel like if I don't do a lot of the business side, like, I need that left, right brain. And you can get really lost in writing
Mm-hmm.
and stuck in characters. And, if a character's going through a really dark avenue, you don't want to go there with them.
Yes. Yeah.
So I found that balance. And again, it's like when I see myself going off the grid, I have to go back to doing some writing.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's just where God is taking me. And it is a form of therapy too, of
Yeah.
writing out things that bother you, and how to give yourself forgiveness. And even if it is through characters, how to give forgiveness and accept forgiveness. And instead of, I had wrote a few books that I had to throw away because there was vengeance in there of like,
Yeah.
I want everybody to know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it just reading it back to myself, I was like, this is disgusting. Like,
Yeah.
no, like I'm ripping this up and throwing it away. It's not, it's just such horrible karma
Mm-hmm.
to do that to somebody. So yeah. So I just keep writing and just keep trying to listen to God and
Yeah.
try not to be sarcastic back, but that happens.
Well, I think that you said something very interesting there, and that was, you wrote some stuff, and you stop, you look at it, and you're like, okay, that's not who I am, and that's not who I'm willing to be, regardless of anybody else's negativity. I'm not going to their level, and that's so mature of you, because I remember when I was a young kid, I was like, man, if they're mean to me, I'm going to be twice as mean to them.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, great. So you said that you want to create basically your own publishing house. And I honor you for that, because anybody who's dealt with Amazon knows that they're playing a lot of games right now with a lot of people's royalties, and they're doing stuff because they can. They're just getting away with a lot of stuff and to be blunt, they're taking advantage of a lot of people and just taking their money and saying, okay, what are you going to do about it? And so I feel like there's a opportunity here for somebody I think that the authors are going to come together and they're going to say, okay, we're not playing this game anymore. You're not going to take all of our royalties anymore. And so I think that what you're doing there is definitely divinely inspired, in my opinion, because somebody's got to stand up and tell Amazon off and say, hey, we don't need you, because we have heart and we have passion and we have product. So yeah, you go, girl. I think
Thank
that's
you.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it breaks my heart to hear people say, I really want to write a novel, but it'll never become something, or I just feel worthless, and it's bigger than, it is like an Amazon problem. Like, I mean, it's Amazon created this problem from us, right?
Yes.
I mean, they just put it on the map, right?
Yeah. It was there, but they made it more. Oh,
yeah.
I'll tell you something that is going to probably ruin Amazon, and that is chatbot GPT.
Oh yeah.
Because what's going on is within the next 3 months, because it's already happened with publishing houses, but what's happened with the publishing houses is all these people who pretend to be authors who don't really, they just go chat GPT, type in a couple of things, and it writes them the whole book. And so they're writing a new book every day. And so all of the publishing houses are like shutting down all their stuff and saying, we don't want any more. And that will blow up Amazon. Amazon will be full of just AI books. So I think that that's going to be the death of them. And it'll be an amazing opportunity for real authors. Because I think, like what you were saying, there's so many people who have a book idea and they're just afraid. So I think that there is opportunity. If you're thinking about writing a book, write the book. There's opportunity, and it will be exposed in the next couple years for sure.
Yeah, I just want everybody to feel like their dreams shouldn't be shot down because of big conglomerates and the horrible world of social media. There's good social media too, but that horrible avenue of feeling so little.
Yes.
And I want to just erase that. And it might be slow at the beginning, but I know that if we create a community, especially within the Christian community, of I believe in God, I know I have value. And you look at these big mega churches that are popping up all over, you look at all this revelation that's going on. We are a community. And we're seeing people break away from each other of like, oh my gosh, you believe in God, I can't talk to you.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, then I don't really think I want to talk to you if you don't believe in God.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we are sadly breaking into our own little silos, and I don't like that. But I also want people to have a voice and an avenue that is worthy, and to feel like I've always wanted to do this, and be like, let's do it. Like, let's make this happen. And I've run certification programs for people to feel needed and wanted, and know like God gave you this dream, like it belongs to you and it's part of you and it's yours.
Mm-hmm.
So stop letting everything around you tell you you can't do it. And for me, it started with writing. And so like I broke through all those avenues, but it's bigger than that, and now I want to break into this media avenue, and, working with some wonderful people, and what's next? Like there's other people that are coming up to me. They're like, well, what about my restaurant? And, I worked in the restaurant industry for a while, and it's like, yeah, we are strong people outside of Amazon.
Yes. Yeah.
And that can do it. And if we all support each other and love each other and believe in ourselves and teach what God gave us is just valuable. And I just want to see that happen. And I know that there's so many people that have passion and want to just feel like it's worthless. And I want to let them know that it's not. And I want to help.
Yes, I hear you. That is so awesome. So let me ask you another technical question.
Oh.
Have you done books on audiobooks? Is that something you've considered? What's your take on all that? Because I'm totally unfamiliar with it.
Yeah. My third book, Soul Meets Body, is an audiobook as well.
Cool.
And, I had no idea how to go about it. My third book has a male narration.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to have a male voice. And, I went on, I think it was Fiverr. I went on and I found this fabulous guy who is a voiceover. He still does voiceover. His name is Luke. I could put his name in your notes. But he had such passion for wanting to do it.
Cool.
And he read the book, and he just did his own little reel of like just pieces of the book. And he got so in love with the characters. And I just loved how he loved them.
Yeah.
And how he took it to a little bit of a different direction, but he owned it.
Yeah.
And it felt good. And I just loved and appreciate him. So he was amazing. So thank you, Luke Whalen, for being my narrator.
Yeah.
And he's still open for audiobooks. So
yeah, and that's so cool, because like, okay, I'm gonna just tell you something you did really good there. So many people, they have an idea and they run up to the very first problem that they see and they quit. But you're like, I need a male voice. I don't have one. Fiverr, and you created success by choosing to say, if there's an idea, there's a way. God can open the door. That's awesome. Good for you. Yeah. So now, how long did it take between the time you're like, okay, I'm going to turn this into an audiobook, and the time it was done?
Probably like 2 months. And the only reason why it was 2 months was because it was between November and January. So there, you had and Luke had to have surgery on his knee. And it wasn't planned. So it was, it's like, oh my gosh, please recover.
It's okay to take an extra day with your surgery.
Like, sending me pictures, he's like his legs up, and he's like, I'm still doing it. And so there he's got the headphones on, and I'm like, you can take a break. Like there's no need to feel like you have to be forced and rushed to do this. Like it's totally fine. But he was a great sport, and we were both, learning at the same time. So we had a lot of fun with it. And I at that point was like, I'm going to learn some voiceover work as well. So I've been doing some dabbling in that myself, but I will narrate my next books that have a female voice, or I feel like I would fit the female voice. I have a good friend that's like, I want to narrate, be your voice on one of your next books. And I'm like, no. because to me, we're so close and everybody associates us together.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
our
yeah.
personalities and thoughts and the way we would look at something would be so different.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I would have to write a book that would be based just for her to do
Yeah,
it, so that,
yeah,
I would have to do that. But, for me, it's more important of, does the voice feel like the character
yeah. Is it
that
authentic and real?
I
Yeah.
have in my head? It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be me.
Okay, so
So
now, like, look, I'm going to ask you another technical question because I know authors are going to be watching this because I have a lot of friends who are. So, like, how did you put all this together? Is this something that you edited yourself? Is this something that you hired out? How did that process work?
I did a handful of both. I thankfully have an aunt that was a born English teacher. She's just like, I love to do grammar work, and she
Wow.
lives and dies for it. And she helped me with a lot at the beginning, and
Hmm.
I didn't understand a lot of it. So we had a little time with trying to figure out what how she never wrote a book either. So it was like figuring out the best way to work together.
Yeah.
And I'm not the grammar queen, so I'm like, you think there should be a comma there? Go, that's fine. Like, I don't
Yep.
want,
Yep.
we
I'm
don't need
right there
to.
with you. I'm like, I just drop commas everywhere like M&Ms. I'm just dropping them.
Yeah. So it was interesting of what I thought an editor was and what it was, and that was difficult for me to figure out and
Yeah.
understand.
Hmm.
It wasn't just fixing grammar.
Yes.
An editor is more of, does the story make sense? Does it
Hmm.
flow? Is this described enough that people can really understand? Is this chapter closed? Is there a front,
Hmm.
middle, ending? So that is really important. And I did have an editor for my third book. I had somebody that helped me with my first two books, but not at the level that my third book. I had an editor work with me, and she'd help me tie in some loose ends. I have spoken with a few other editors for the books that I'm involved with right now, that I would like to work with. But
Hmm.
yeah, definitely working with an editor is very important, and somebody that understands your voice and your genre, because they
Yeah.
understand what your audience wants.
And that right there, I need to draw that out because for anybody watching this who doesn't understand what she just said, it is vital that you get this. If your editor does not know your genre, you don't want them because your genre has their own voice, they have their own vibe, they have their own, and if you get an editor and they don't get that, it's going to be a mess, because anything that's art will attract certain people and it will repel other people because we don't all like the same ice cream. And so that art's like ice cream. Some people want nuts, some people don't. Some people want, chocolate, some people don't. So yeah, what you said there, Debbie's right. Listen to Debbie. Get somebody that knows your people. Cool.
Yeah.
So let's I want to take a step back here, and I want you to tell the person right now, because you want to encourage these people who have this idea for a book. So what do they need to do right now as far as they want to write a book? What should they do?
Get out your pen and paper or your laptop and just start writing. If you have, usually people come to me and they're like, I have this scene in my head and I want to take it further. So write out the scene,
Mm-hmm.
write out what that scene is, and then either build in front of it and build behind it, build sideways. But if you don't put it on paper, virtual or by hand, it's just a thought in your head.
Yeah.
You miss 100 shots that you never take. So if you
Yep.
don't take that move of doing something about it, it's going to go nowhere. And if you're going to just walk around and talk about it, someone's going to hear your idea and do it for you
Yeah.
with their name on it. And so just start writing it and have it take a life of its own. And it's okay to go a little deep and then go to write your outline and make sure it makes sense. That's okay, because you
Mhm.
want to feel out if that's going to work for you. You always take a test drive of a car before you buy it. So
Yeah.
do that to see if this works for you. Not everybody can take off work or has the freedom to just sit around and write all day.
Mm-hmm.
Have that consistency of this time every day, I'm going to take 2 hours to write.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I hated that when people said that to me. But why that's so important is because you want to keep your brain in that thought process of, I know at 5 o'clock every day, I'm going to lock myself in a room and it's just me and my characters. So the whole day, you can have your day and you know when that 2 hours belongs to that book, those characters.
Yeah.
And it's not forever. I mean, you're
Thank
not
you.
going to write a book for 10 years. And if you are,
shouldn't.
really
Yeah.
think about that.
Yeah.
But put a time frame of like, and not everybody's time frame is going to be the same. So I don't want to say, but let's say you're like, I'm going to take a year and I want it to be a whole year. So just do check-ins like every month at like, it's your business, right? So
that's right.
You would have an executive meeting with your team, a weekly meeting, a monthly meeting. Like, where are we at with this? Because if you don't keep track, every year is going to go by. You're going to walk away on the holidays. You're going to go on vacation. You're not going to think about it. You're going to make a big promise to yourself. You're going to spend the whole weekend. And then you're sitting on your couch with a beer and ice cream and you're like, oh, I'll do it later.
Yeah.
You have to be strict about it. I think the shorter time frame, the better, because you can put it on paper and then it's on paper, walk away for a month and then go back and edit it because you will see it in a whole different.
I agree with that. Yeah. So let me reiterate some points you just made there because they're really important. Number one, what you said about get out. If you have this thought, get out there and do it. Okay. I have seen people have amazing ideas and they wouldn't do something with it. So God would take that same idea and give it to somebody else. And that person makes it a bestseller. That person makes tons of money with it because they wouldn't get off the rear. Right. So Debbie's right on that. And the second thing that Debbie said here that I really want you to pay attention to is your time. All right. If this was your job, you would allocate time to it. You would get your rear end out of bed or stay up late. You would do it. Right. And so you're blocking the time. Stop making excuses. Take an hour or 2 hours or whatever you have and do it. I agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm more of a person that's like, don't talk to me for 2 weeks and I'll lock myself in and do it.
Yeah.
But I am able to do that.
Yeah. And a lot of people can't.
A lot of people can. And I actually right now can't. So I have to do that allocation of time to get it done. And that it's hard, but once you're into it, you're like, this is the time of day that it's me and my characters and you have to all leave me alone. It's a short time.
Yes. Yes. I get that. I totally get that. So what else do you want to say to the people who are thinking about writing? So we're saying block your time out, do it, just do it. What else?
Well, I would vision what you want your end goal to be for the book. I know plenty of people that are like, I just wanted to say I could do it and not necessarily publish it or just throw it in a drawer and leave it there forever. I have some people that want to become a bestseller, want to make it into a movie. And then I had people that are really not sure. So if you're not sure, think it out. Like, let the characters have their own life. Like, do you see them on a red carpet? Do you see them just going back to their normal life? Like, it's like, we all want to know what happens next on the Gilmore Girls. Or is Rory's having a baby? Is she not? Who's the father? I want to know. So you have to think about what's the next life cycle for this book. Is it a sequel? Do you want to make it into a series? If you understand your genre and you understand your audience, you have to look at they're the people that are going to feed you, right? So how do you want your characters to get fed? Do you want them to just live a short life or do you want them to live on forever? And so knowing those pieces will help you decide your end game of this has to get in these people's hands because it's going to save them or it's going to help them. And I just want to help these people. Some people, I have a friend, her son passed away. She wrote a book about, her dealing with it. And she just wants to help other people that are grieving and how to get through it. So it wasn't to become a bestseller. It's just to continue her journey of helping other people get through losing a loved one. And so she does a lot of speaking and she does a lot of engagements and that is where she wants it to be. And that's fabulous. So it can have such a life in so many directions. It doesn't have to follow a specific formula of a life cycle.
Okay, so then I got to bring up the fear of the blank page, because I hear this all the time. The
Mhm.
fear of the blank page. So how does somebody conquer that? How give us your wisdom?
Well, you kind of do it to yourself. So it's not, again, it's really setting up the scene, and it's setting up the process, and it's not just sitting, oh, I'm going to write today, and
Mhm.
just waking up and grabbing a pen and being able to write. That's where the blank space comes.
Yes.
It's, building the story, writing the strong outline, writing it deeper, living in it every day, saying every day at this time, me and my characters are going to live alone in our personal space.
Yeah.
And when you get there, you already have had the scene in your head, and you're like, okay, I just need to put it on paper.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not prepared, when you're not in it, when you're not connected with your characters, you're going to get to those spaces.
Yes.
And yeah, sometimes you're like, I'm in a loss of words and I don't know how to go about that. So maybe you need to go for a walk around the block. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's the
Mm-hmm.
time you go to Google Docs and you grab your phone and you just start talking into your phone and walking it out, or go
Yeah.
for a run, or your favorite place.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to change venue.
Yes.
Sometimes,
That's real. That is real, because your thoughts sometimes get stuck in that room,
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
you gotta leave.
yeah.
Or
But yeah, it's different for every situation and for every person. But sometimes you also have to accept of, maybe today's not our day,
mm-hmm. And that's okay.
and that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So then I want to make this very tactical for people who are watching this and they're like, okay, what's this mean to kind of plan this out? So give us, because we talked about the stickies earlier. Let's talk about, if you were going to write something right now, you have a new project coming into your head. What's this process look out that you kind of come up with? That way, when you sit down, you're ready to roll.
Well, yeah, a story, when it develops for me, it usually comes from a dream, or
Mm-hmm.
I'll hear about a story and I'll be like, I want to know more about that.
Come on.
Or my first book really started because I met two people very close together. I met each of them once, but I knew
Mm-hmm.
that there was some form of significance for me meeting them, but they both ghosted me. I never met them again. And it was
Yeah.
literally like 15, 20 minutes each person.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I
But
don't
it
know
was
why.
probably God that they disappeared on you, because they might have took the story in a different direction.
Yes.
So I mean, that's really interesting that happened. So tell us more about this. You run into these people, you see them 20 minutes each, and
Yeah.
then they're gone.
Yeah. It tore me. It really upset me, because
Yeah.
it was very strong, and it was very like God put these two
Mm-hmm.
people in my path for a reason,
Yeah.
and I couldn't figure it out. And
Yes.
it upset me so much. And I was mourning people that I'm like, I don't even really know them. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
anything about them. But I was like, well, I don't have to.
That's right.
Maybe I don't have to know anything about them. And you know what? Maybe I just need to start writing
Mm.
and figure it out. And what a life cycle that took. So this is now, I wrote that in like 2015, 2016, my first book.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like both of them could care less. I don't really know a lot. One of them I know a little bit more because I was able to Google him. And I actually just had a meeting with somebody that works with him.
How funny is that?
Yeah. And I'm like, gosh, I hope that conversation doesn't come up. But like, how do you know him? Like, because I wrote a book about him. I don't know. I don't really know him at all.
That's awesome. Though. That's hilarious.
But you know what? It's like,
Yeah.
but those are things where like you have to be careful of. I don't know this person. I really don't know anything about it. I took a dream and imagination.
Yes.
His name's not on it. There's no connection, but there is a connection.
Mm-hmm.
You put energy on paper about someone, if it's intended for them, not intended for them. That
yeah.
energy is very strong, and
Yeah.
it is a connection. So it'll be interesting if any of us ever, get to meet face to face again. But that to me is fun, is to just like see somebody in the subway and be like, that lady looks like she's going through something. I wonder what it is.
Yeah.
And then take it. And then I just started writing stories, and I was like finding a situation like that. Wow, what if that happened? And
Cool.
then the outline came, and then
Okay.
getting a little deeper. Yeah.
All right. Now, I am a total ignoramus when it comes to fiction. All right. So when you say the outline came, give me a little bit more information on that, if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah. So, it's not real. It
Yeah,
didn't
yeah, yeah.
happen.
So you're
So,
imagining this scene, and then
yeah.
you kind of just start jotting down these ideas, and they
Yeah.
end up on
So
stickies on the wall.
I wasn't in the sticky phase then.
Oh, okay.
I was on, more like this
Oh,
back
yes, I
then.
follow
Like,
you.
so it was like note paper and notes, and
Uh-huh.
then it's like all different color
Oh, yes, good.
pens.
Yep.
I was in that, and I still start that way. But so yeah, it's an open door of, okay, well, I see this woman on the subway, and I'm like, all right, well, what's going on? And if it's something that won't leave me alone, then I know
There you
that
go.
it's something I have to write about. Actually, the screenplay I'm writing now, it was, in a dream, this girl came to me and she's like, you have to tell my story.
Yeah.
Please tell my story. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And just digging in deeper and digging deeper, like feeling what she went through. And, it's where she's in her early 20s and everything is great and everything's wonderful until somebody finds greed and gets stuck and can't get out, and how that snowballs. So, you'll find a character. If you're a writer and you want to be writing, there's a situation that'll happen, or somebody that you're like, I need to know more about that.
Yeah.
So I'll get stuck in that person and
Mhm.
I'll try to walk through a day in the life, and then I'll be like, oh, okay. Oh, so why did she give that guy a look? Like, oh, who's that guy? So the characters start to build, and then you're like, oh, well, maybe they're in a bad marriage. Oh, like, well, maybe there's something. Oh, maybe he's cheating on her. So
Yeah.
you start doing the mapping
Oh,
of
cool. Like
how are,
mind maps.
yeah. So like, how are you connected? How are you connected? Oh, who just
Mhm.
walked in the door? Oh, where's she going?
I
So you're
love
like
that.
running all over the place. And then you all of a sudden are like in this soap opera, and you're like, I just want to live in this. So I'll find myself doing a lot of walking, because that's like a great place where I could just sit in thoughts and be left alone. And then I'll go home and start mapping out, like, okay, I saw her on the subway. So she's on the subway. Where is she going? And then
Yeah.
the outline will start to come together. And you'll
Mhm.
find like a good chunk. And then you're like, let's just let them play it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so, like, let me tell you what I think you told me to make sure I'm getting it correct. So you find people and they kind of put you on a track, and you let your mind kind of make a little mind movie in your imagination about it, in a nutshell.
Yeah. That's one avenue. Or I'll know of a real life situation,
Okay.
and I won't know enough about it, or never
Mhm.
will. And it's like a 6 degree of separation.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what if that happened?
Yeah.
Like, how would I feel if I was one of these people in this situation?
Cool.
Or like, for instance, I have a friend going through a divorce, and it's like,
Mhm.
well, I would never know what that felt like, but I don't know how she feels. Like, I just hear it. So
Yeah.
like maybe getting into, how does she feel being going through this? Like, how can I help her
Mhm.
be a good friend? And then might become characters of like a friend trying to help out somebody going through a divorce and trying
Yeah.
to understand, or vice versa, being the person
Mhm.
in the divorce and a friend trying to help her, and her friend's not being helpful at all.
Yeah. Yes.
Or maybe being the other person in the divorce and what
Yeah.
that person's going through. And it
Yeah.
might just be like, oh, I know, just start with the conversation of so and so is getting a divorce, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh, well, I don't really know her, but I want to support her.
Yeah.
The conversation in your head just starts that direction of like, let me think about it. And then you're like, well, this would be a great book.
Yes.
It's
I
gonna
like that.
it's gonna go in a way I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not I'm not in it.
Mhm.
I'm a degree away from it. I just heard of a story, and it's like, I can't lose that piece.
That
So
is
it
awesome.
it could be a piece of the story, but
Mm-hmm.
it could just blossom from just that little piece.
How neat is that? So then you take all these little pieces and you kind of put them together.
Yeah. Yeah. Like once again, like it could just come from like anything. It could be listening to a conversation at a restaurant, and
Mm-hmm.
you're like, I wonder what they're talking about. And then you just create what you think these people's names should be, or what their lives are like. And once you start creating that, then they become somebody, and you're like, all right, people, here's your living room. Just like drop them in.
Yeah. So you see what happens.
Yeah. And
Cool.
like, let's see where it goes. And then once you start seeing where it goes, then you can start to plan, with a situation. But you can also do it another way of like, okay, I want this to be a thriller. So I need something like that looks like wholesome and pure. Then, oh, something damaging happens. Then there's how are you going to get out of it? And then there's the happy ending or
Yeah.
not the ending. So you can write that way, and then you could go out in the world and be like, oh, what about that? Like, what about that? What about you can pick any. It's any creative direction feels comfortable to you, and that comes naturally to you. For me, it's been all of the above. So,
that's cool. All right, I know that you gotta run here for too long. So I want to ask you I always ask everybody when I talk to them, if you could talk to the you 20 years younger, 30 years younger, what would you say to that person? The 3 to 5 life lessons were like, you really should,
The first lesson I would say is when you hear God's voice, listen.
Yes.
Because he's always protecting you, and he's always taking care of you. And you might think it sounds ridiculous, and you don't know better. So that's number one. Just love everybody every day. Forgive everybody. Forgive yourself. Ask for forgiveness. Even if you can't physically do it or say it, write down a group, like have a list ongoing for life of, I need to ask for forgiveness. I need to give forgiveness. I need to say, I'm sorry. That forgiveness list goes a long way. Pray for souls in purgatory when you don't know what to pray for, when you're real stuck and lost, because that is huge. And just smile as often as possible.
Yeah.
And believe in yourself, because God brought you here for a reason, and just believe good and wonderful things are going to happen.
I like that. Yeah, that was awesome. I love that. Okay, well, I'm going to let you go here because you ended so strongly there. And but yeah, thank you for jumping on here and hanging out with me. And I really we need to do this again because I had a blast.
Awesome. Thank you.
And below this video are Debbie's links. You need to click them and buy her books. They're on Amazon. Anything else you want to say to the people?
I think I just said it. Like, just believe in yourself and know that God loves you and you are uniquely made. So enjoy this life because it's made for you.
That's right.